All right, hey guys, this is Miss Blankenship again. This time I'm reading a book called Uncle Andy's, and it's by an author. His name is James Warhola. Now, the guy with the white hair is a famous artist named Andy Warhol, and the guy who wrote it was James Warhola. Same Warhol and Warhola. Well, actually, Andy Warhol, the famous artist I'm going to read to you about, changed his name. He was Andy Warhola, but then he dropped the A at the end and made himself just Andy Warhol when he got famous. So his nephew wrote this book. Isn't that neat? All right, so let's learn about this crazy artist, Andy Warhol. Uncle Andy's. He definitely was a crazy artist. See all the cats in the picture? Mm-hmm. You see his hair and his suspenders? His crazy sunglasses. All right. It's kind of a long book, but I think you'll enjoy it. And it's kind of surprising, too. All right, so looking back on those days, the one thing I remember most is thinking my dad had the best darn job in the world. Our yard was always so much more fun than anyone else's in the neighborhood. My oldest brother was already away at college, but there were still 6 of us at home. Dad had lots of jobs, but for now, he was mostly a junk man. Sometimes the neighbors complained that our yard looked like a junkyard. Lots of fun stuff. Oh, and you see here his truck full of scraps in the back. I know kids around here probably have seen lots of houses
and
like
also he just has a yard that's a junky.
The real junkyard was about a mile away on a dirt road. It was up a really steep hill. It had everything. Old cars, old pop machines, and old airplane engines. You name it, it was there on the hill. Dad's job was to take things apart and separate the metals. Aluminum, copper, brass, and steel. When there was enough, he loaded up the trunk and hauled it to another junkyard. I'm sure you've seen something like that before out in the country.
Yep.
No, I have. Yep. Dad was always bringing home junk, and sometimes he'd say to me, "Now, Jamie, this can really make some good art." Then he'd put a bunch of it together in an interesting way. Mom was always yelling at Dad, "For Pete's sake, Paul, quit junking up the house. And Paul, when you going to get rid of this stuff anyhow?" But we liked playing with the junk. It looks like he's got like a robot made out of tires and junk piled up. Here he's got a crazy looking sculpture. This is just Jamie's dad though, right? So we haven't met Uncle Andy yet. One day, Dad came home from work and announced, "It's time to visit Bubba and Uncle Andy in the big city. We'll leave tomorrow morning." Oh, we were so excited. It was not often that we got to visit our grandma and our famous artist uncle in New York City. We had a lot of getting ready to do. Dad had work to do on the car. Mary Lou and Eva had to make some sandwiches. Georgie and I had to pack the car. And little Maddie and Marty, well, they didn't do much. They were just in the way. The next morning, Mom woke us up extra early and we were finally on our way. We saw nothing but cornfields and cow pastures at first. Then we slowly counted the 7 tunnels that it would take us to get there. When we came to the last tunnel, we all perked up. Oh, I love this. Oh, there's junk everywhere and their old beat up car. Oh, I love it so much. All of a sudden, the world became very different. There were giant buildings, honking taxis, and people going every which way. Dad slowly wove his way uptown to Uncle Andy's. This is New York City.
Wait, New York?
Tall buildings, New York City. Look at all this is. Now it's even busier.
Me and Mama went to where Uncle Chad lives, and that is very far away.
Yep. There we were, all 8 of us standing in front of a huge black door ringing the bell. After a long wait, the door unlatched and slowly opened. Uncle Andy peered out for a minute and let out a long, "Oh!" Dad always thought it was best not to phone ahead, so it would be a big surprise. He showed us. It certainly worked. Uncle Andy was always very, very surprised. He showed us in and we made our way to the kitchen where our grandmother was. Bubba, that's Grandma, drowned us with wet kisses as she always did, and fixed us a dinner of salamis, bread, and cheeses. Soon all the chattering and eating came to an end, and it was time for sleep. Uncle Andy showed us to our makeshift beds. I slept on the top floor on an old propped-up old door covered with cushions. Sometimes you visit people that don't have room for you, and you just gotta sleep wherever, right? All right, so you see his crazy hair? It kind of looks like Einstein, doesn't he? Oh, look at this. In the morning, I noticed that I was surrounded by towers of soup boxes. I thought Uncle Andy and Bubba sure ate a lot of soup, but that wasn't it at all. Uncle Andy didn't buy these soup boxes. He built them out of wood and painted each one. They were art, and really important too, because Uncle Andy told us not to touch any of it. Art. Campbell's soup boxes.
I'm sure you like this book because it's an art teacher book.
Oh yeah, and look, there's kitty cats in all the pictures. Andy Warhol, was a cat person. He had like tons of cats. Every page, you gotta find the cats, okay? As I'm reading. Dad always remembered to bring Uncle Andy something interesting from the junkyard. This time it was a giant magnet covered with a bunch of bolts. Uncle Andy peered over his glasses and at it really carefully. And after a pause, he said, "Oh, gee, wow." Then we really knew he liked it. He decided that it should go right by the front door. You see all the little bolts on it all over the magnet. Uncle Andy had 25 cats, all named Sam. They were always hiding in a house that was just like a giant amusement park. It was perfect for hide-and-go-seek and racing. It wasn't long before the 6 of us were flying up and down the stairs and through all the rooms like a band of wild monkeys.
But where's the cat?
Oh, you have to look for him in every picture, all right? I see with you. Oh my goodness, look at his collection. Uncle Andy thought everything was art in some way or another. That's why his house was so fantastic. Each of the rooms was filled to the brim with all sorts of neat things. So if you look here, you'll see that's a horse off of a merry-go-round. Here's a statue of a guy that looks like he's from the the circus or something like that. Here's a statue of a Native American Indian. Here's all kinds of weird stuff in the background. This up here, this is a famous actress from a long time ago. Her name is Marilyn Monroe. This is a painting of her multiple times. Look at the money. These are paintings of money that he did over and over and over again. And let's see, we've got a metal statue of a guy riding, it's like horse legs, but a person body. We've got heads of penguins and looks like a little puppet doll. All kinds of funky stuff. And of course the kids are crawling all over it when they're not supposed to, right? It's like a museum. All right. There were always new things to see. Right in the middle of the entranceway, there was a giant piece of crumpled metal. It looked like it might have gotten stuck there and couldn't go any farther. Uncle Andy explained to us, "Oh, that's a piece of fabulous art by a famous artist." We were impressed. Dad had a lot of art like that back home. Remember that Dad's a junk man. Uncle Andy was always making art. We loved watching him paint in his studio. He made regular stuff like soup cans, pop bottles, and money look like real art. Mary Lou and Eva just loved his giant paintings of Elvis Presley. Mom, always aware of unnecessary clutter, asked, "Gee, Andy, when are you going to get rid of this stuff?" Uncle Andy, startled, would say, "Oh no, this is art. It's going to be worth a lot of money." Mom really didn't understand art. So we have over here, this is Elvis Presley. You've probably seen him in different things. His music is the stuff off of
do you mean the Elvis?
Lilo and Stitch. Oh. That music, Elvis, that's Elvis Presley playing every time that was Ain't Nothing But a Hound Dog, all that kind of stuff. Anyway, there he's painting stuff. We've got money in the background. We have more Marilyn Monroe stuff. We've got all kinds of just stuff that you would not expect to be famous art, right? Of course, he's got beans on his. All right, with all the commotion that we caused, Uncle Andy decided it might be best to put us all to work. It wasn't long before each of us had different jobs. He knew I liked to do art, so he let me help him with a giant paint-by-number sailboat painting. Look at this. A giant Coca-Cola bottle We've got a giant paint by number. See the little numbers where you fill it in. Giant soup can. Everybody's got something they're doing in this picture, helping out, right?
And
Definitely not
the
what
kids
you'd
are
expect.
messing up everything.
Yep. Oh, and I forgot to point out some cats. There's a cat. There's a cat. There's a cat up on top of everything. There's a little kitty cat down there. I'm probably missing
It's
some.
like cat.
Yeah. At night, Uncle Andy went out to parties to see other famous people. In the morning, we patiently sat by his door waiting for it to open so he could tell us all about who he had met. Once, Maddie surprised Uncle Andy by going into his room a little too early. He let out a shriek because he didn't have his wig on yet. That's a fake wig that he wears. Of course, we all knew Uncle Andy was bald, just like Dad and Uncle John. Uncle Andy had wigs for every occasion. Messy wake-up wigs, multicolored afternoon wigs, and formal wigs for parties. He had given Dad his old wigs, and back at home, we had a lot of fun with them. Look at all of them putting on the wigs.
Look at the baby.
Oh, gosh. Oh, there's more cats. Look under the bed.
I thought the baby was
He has 25 cats.
the uncle just little. Like shrunk.
Oh, I like this page. Each day was a chance to see something new. We especially loved hiding in the studio when Uncle Andy had important art people over to talk about his work. They would all huddle around the paintings, pointing and peering. They really thought Uncle Andy was onto something. I knew his paintings were super neat, and it made me want to do my own art when I got home. Here is a lid to a Pepsi bottle. Here's more. Is that Elvis again? Yep, there's more Elvis in the background. Here's another soup can one. Yeah. And then look at all the cats. See them, Lena? And Avery?
No.
Is that one right there?
Oh, found one.
Yep.
I only saw one.
Oh, there's one off the edge. Finally, Dad announced it's time to get on home. That night, we packed up all of our things. Again, Mary Lou and Eva made the sandwiches. Bubba added a few salamis. Uncle Andy was on his way out the door with one of his soup can paintings when I told him we had to leave in the morning. He replied, oh, really? I have to go out and sell this picture to a man waiting at the corner. You know, he's the taxi cab king. He really likes my work. Then I'm going to a party. Oh, so have a fabulous trip, Jamie. Bye. Which is a crazy personality. Here's some more. Look at all these cats looking at him out the door.
Oh my God.
We went to bed early, and before I knew it, Mom was wiggling my toes and saying, time to get up. Bubba helped us with our things, and we trudged out into the dark morning. At the foot of the steps, there was a bunch of boxes that Uncle Andy had left for all of us. A lot of neat stuff, including art supplies for me. Bubba drowned us with those wet kisses as we got into the car. Soon we were weaving our way downtown to go to the first tunnel. We all fell asleep wondering about our next trip back to Uncle Andy's. As we got older, we made many more trips back to the faraway city, and Dad continued bringing interesting junk from the junkyard for Uncle Andy. I really like doing art, and I learned that art is something that is all around us all the time. All right, so here he is back at his house. In the corner of my bedroom, I made an art studio of my own, and although Mom fretted and fussed as usual over what a mess it was, she didn't make me clean it up. She even woke me up early on Saturdays to drive me to art class. You know, I think Mom's finally understanding what art is all about. So here's Jamie back in his house. He's got a messy little studio there. He's got a big soup can on the wall, just like his uncle, and some fun drawings and paintings. Pretty cool, huh? And then, of course, he grew up to be an illustrator and a writer, and wrote this book about his famous artist uncle, which I love. So this is what I want the assignment you'll see on Google Classroom, but you're going to be choosing an everyday material around your house. You're going to be drawing it. This is not something I would normally have us do in school, but it's just a fun little thing to make you appreciate the art that's all around. So I picked Play-Doh. This is just a sketch. Lena, can you get Play-Doh, please? I'm going to show them what I got the inspiration from. So this Play-Doh came in our Easter baskets. And you know that Play-Doh has this famous label on it. And usually you think of the Play-Doh inside as making fun art with and having fun with. But Andy Warhol would say, oh, no, that container is art too. So I drew it 5 times, just kind of quick and sloppy. 4 times. Can't count. And I'm going to add some crazy colors and make them all different. All right? So I can't wait to see what you guys do on Google Classroom and the rest of you. Be pretty cool to see some art too, all right? See ya.